Hey guys, it's Darwin here with my weekly Q&A to answer more of your questions. If you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this week's first question. Can you describe stealth camping a little? Do you just get off the trail a little, or do you actually try to hide your tent from view? So that's a good question. And whenever people say stealth camping, they don't necessarily mean getting stealthy. Stealth camping is pretty much anywhere that's not an actual designated camp spot. So it doesn't have a fire ring, there's no shelter, there's no place where someone has really camped before. A lot of people will also stealth camp like right outside of towns. Now for that, you are getting a little more stealthy. So whenever Snuggles and I, or whenever I personally have ever stealth camped, we just kind of go past a designated campsite, and it's usually because it's kind of overcrowded with other hikers, sometimes maybe Boy Scout groups, or weekend families, and then we just find a stealth spot. So stealth camping isn't exactly as stealthy as it sounds, it's really just you making another camp spot that's not a designated camp spot. Do trekking poles with ergo grips like the Black Diamond ones work well with ultralight tents which use trekking poles as supports? So good question, Richard, and yes, I have set up my duplex and any of the other trekking pole tents that I've had with my ergo grip poles. So aside from the knock poles that I've been using a lot lately, I also use the Black Diamond ergo carbon cork poles, and that is what I use to set up my tent. Now the tent that I currently have is a Z-Pax duplex, and it sets up great with that tent. And then when I also had my Six Moons Design Skyscape Trekker, it set up with that tent too. There might be some tents out on the market that need more of a straight handle, but all the ones that I've had so far, yeah, the ergos work great. What is your favorite lighter down jacket? So David, I actually lately have been kind of switching back and forth. For a long time now, I've been using the Mount Hardwear Ghost Whisperer jacket, which is a down jacket, so it has the down inside of it. It's hooded, and it only weighs a little over 8 ounces. I absolutely love that jacket, and like I said, I've been using it for about 2 years now. Not too long ago, I actually picked up one of these, which is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid Apex jacket, and this has become my new favorite jacket. So as much as I love down and I've always been a down person, this was a jacket that I picked up because I had never really experimented with synthetic insulation, and this thing has blown me away. Now the one that I'm currently wearing is a 7D version, so it's actually a prototype, and Enlightened Equipment usually only makes a 10 and a 20D, but this guy actually weighs much less than my Ghost Whisperer jacket. And as far as I knew, that was the lightest down jacket on the market that you could get. But if you're looking for down in specific, I would say definitely check out the Mount Hardwear. But if you do want synthetic, you want something that's super warm, something that's super light and really comfortable, definitely check out one of these Enlightened Equipment jackets because this thing is awesome.
Darwin, my name is Jason. I'm a den leader in Branson, Missouri. I am working with wolves, which are 7- and 8-year-old kids right now. And my question to you is, how do you get kids more interested in hiking, especially more long-distance hiking? I know they can't carry very much, but I would like to take my boys out to enjoy the outdoors a lot more. And with your experience on the trail, what would be some of your suggestions on getting them more interested and more into enjoying the outdoors? Thank you, and I look forward to hearing your answer.
So that is a really good question, and that's actually how I got into backpacking and hiking, was in Boy Scouts. Now we never did any really long distance hiking, but I would suggest getting your scouts into hiking. Maybe one of the best things to do is show them some YouTube videos. Maybe get some documentaries on like the AT or the PCT. Definitely screen them before you show them because you never know what hiker trash are going to say in those things, but get them inspired with that. Show them all the cool gear, maybe showing some videos of some awesome ultralight gear, breaking down how to use it, maybe by making some DIY gear, like my cook pouch that I did not too long ago, or my cup koozie. Get them into things like that, and I guarantee they'll get hooked on it. Like I said, that's how I got hooked on hiking and just being in the outdoors in general. And I'm sure if they're already Boy Scouts, they're going to be into that anyways. That's awesome that you're trying to get them into longer distance hiking, and thank you for raising a new generation of hikers. I know it has given you trouble in the past. What advice could you give on tick prevention on the AT? There's obviously lots of things that you can do to treat your clothes, to spray yourself with, checking for ticks all the time, which are all great ideas. Permethrin is a really good chemical to actually treat all of your gear with before you hit the trail, and then maybe treat your gear with it every 3 to 4 weeks. Using something like DEET or maybe even a natural bug spray is always a great idea. I personally use 100% DEET, which isn't exactly the most friendly for your skin, but it does help keep the ticks away. And then just staying super vigilant and making sure that you're checking yourself every day when you get to camp, and making sure that you're just looking all over through your hair, maybe through your beard, and everywhere on your legs to make sure that you're not getting one that's burrowing into you. Now, a few months ago, I did a video called Bugs on the Trail where I talked about some different preventions on ticks, mosquitoes, and all of that. I'll actually put a link up here in the corner if you want to check that video out. But something to always keep in mind, even though I used permethrin, even though I used DEET, even though I wore gaiters, I still got bit by a tick and still contracted ehrlichiosis. So it is really, really hard to kind of 100% eradicate and prevent ticks from happening out on the AT, but they are really bad out there. So just make sure that you're checking yourself as much as possible, and hopefully you won't get in the same situation as I did. How do you feel about the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon that depicts a woman hiking the PCT? I've actually touched on this in the past. For a movie, it's a good movie. The way I kind of feel about any of those Hollywood movies that are made about thru hikers or anyone that has an extreme outdoor experience is it's Hollywood. And a lot of times they romanticize things like a thru hike. You know, if you watch something like Wild or A Walk in the Woods, it's nothing like a thru hike. Even though they're out on the trail and they're carrying a pack, it is a Hollywood movie, so they're going to romanticize it as much as possible. Movies will never encapsulate what it's like to actually do a thru hike. So again, as a movie, it's good. As a guideline or inspiration for someone that wants to do a thru hike or any type of long distance hiking, I don't think that it's good for that. Now, if you've ever read the book Wild, the book is much, much better than the movie, so I definitely suggest that if you've seen the movie and you haven't read the book. But in general, is it a good movie? Sure. Is it good inspiration or good way to show someone what a thru hike is like? Not at all. If you want to experience more of what a thru hike is like and get inspired to do that, I definitely suggest watching some documentaries. There's tons of different documentaries that are made by hikers every single year. Some you can find right here on YouTube, some are on like Netflix, on Amazon. There's tons of really great documentaries that really encapsulate what it's like to spend 4 to 6 months on a trail.
Hey Darwin, my name is Michelle. I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. I am slowly section hiking the Arizona Trail, and I was just wondering, what passages did you do last week, and how was the water situation?
So I don't know exactly what passages that I hiked. I can tell you that I hiked from Flagstaff, Arizona down to Pine, which was about 100 miles. And then my plan was to hike past Pine into that wilderness, but because it was such a big wilderness, I didn't want to be out for another 150 miles until I could get off the trail. So I actually got off in Pine, got a ride north of Flagstaff, and then hiked 60 miles back into Flagstaff. So it's kind of a weird section. Again, I don't know what passage numbers that they were, but that is the section that I hiked. As far as the water situation, I was actually pretty surprised at how much water there was on the trail between Flagstaff and Pine. Last year, whenever I was bike packing the Arizona Trail, there was like no water at all. From the Utah border all the way to Flagstaff, I never really seen water. There might have only been like 1 or 2 cattle tanks that actually had a little bit of water left in that, and that was in October. This year, I was super surprised at how much water were in the cattle tanks and how much water was just left out and cached for hikers. And the entire time I was out on the trail, I only ever carried 2 liters at a time, and that done me pretty well. Now, I'm a bit of a camel, so whenever I do get to a water source, I drank as much water as I possibly can, camel up, fill up my 2 liters, and then I hike for about 8 to 10 miles without getting water again. So everyone's different, and your water consumption is definitely going to be different than mine, but I never had a problem that entire section that I was out. Alright guys, last question of the week. Most hiking I do is in the high Sierra where there is almost always a creek or a lake to take a swim or do laundry. Nobody likes feeling sticky inside their bag. What is personal hygiene like on the AT, AZT, or first 700 miles of the PCT? That is a good question, and there's not. I've went like 10 days without taking any type of shower, without washing my clothes, without washing my hair or my beard. Whenever you're doing long distance hiking, hygiene is kind of not a thing. You know, as long as you're brushing your teeth every once in a while, like every day, that is about the best hygiene that you can do. Aside from that, you're just gonna stink. You're gonna be gross, you're gonna be sticky, you're gonna be sweaty. It just kind of comes with long distance hiking. Now in the summer months on the Appalachian Trail, both back in 2015 and 2016, I did take my buff, and at times at camp I would actually take my buff, soak it in water at a water source, and then I would just wipe myself down. Wipe my legs and my arms down before I went to sleep at night, just because I didn't want my legs to stick together, because yeah, you're right, it's gross. Aside from that, there's not really any other hygiene that you can do. Now, obviously, if you do come to some sort of a lake or a pond, yeah, it's a great idea to jump in and wash yourself off. And I would do that regardless. But, you know, the reality is, especially the first 700 miles of the PCT and then the Arizona Trail, you never have that opportunity. So you just kind of have to deal with being gross, being sticky, stinky, and wait till you get to town, get a good shower, and get ready to get stinky and sticky again. Alright guys, so if you want to leave a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. So just to give you guys a little bit of an update on what Snuggles and I have going on, we have actually left Flagstaff, hence the deserty stuff again, and we are now in Joshua Tree, California. We'll be out here for a couple weeks hanging out in the park, hanging out with some good friends. Then we're going to be heading further west towards the coast and Sequoia National Park. So we should be doing some videos up in there, so keep an eye out for that. And then our plan is pretty much spend the winter out here, and then starting in April, I'll be starting my hike of the PCT. If you haven't had a chance yet, go over and check me out on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of new photos lately of some of the things that Snuggles and I have going on throughout the week, plus some pictures from some past hikes. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.